Most people think wealth comes from a big break. The truth is, it comes from tiny, boring actions no one talks about. Ever notice how some people in their 40s and beyond build wealth effortlessly, while others, making the same income, struggled paycheck to paycheck? The difference isn't luck, it's not inheritance, it's about what the 1% do quietly, while the 99% chase financial quick fixes. After 40, we all face a hard truth. Time is no longer on our side. The financial mistakes we could recover from at 25 start to feel permanent at 45. What changed everything for me wasn't a big financial win. It wasn't brilliance. It was this. Wealth is built through tiny, consistent habits that most people dismiss as too small to matter. The wealthy aren't doing anything complicated. They're doing simple things consistently and quietly. And it works. These 17 habits transformed my financial life when I thought it might be too late. Whether you're feeling behind, overwhelmed, or just ready for more peace with your money, this video is for you. Before we dive in, type "I'm ready for financial freedom" in the comments. That small action perfectly represents what separates the 1% from everyone else. A willingness to take small steps that compound over time. Let's explore the 17 tiny habits that quietly built my wealth and can build yours too, if you're ready to do what most won't. Habit 1. I pay myself first. Automatically, most people build wealth backwards. They pay bills first, then promise to save whatever's left. By month's end, there's usually nothing left. Money evaporates into expenses we barely remember. The solution isn't about more willpower or earning more. It's about changing the system. The wealthy don't save what's left after spending. They spend what's left after saving. This priority shift changes everything. Setting up automatic transfers that move money to investment accounts as soon as your paycheck lands eliminates the psychological battle. The money disappears before you think about spending it. Imagine earning $5,000 monthly and automatically directing $1,000 to savings and investments. That's $12,000 annually without additional effort. In 5 years, with compound interest, this easily exceeds $60,000. This strategy works because it respects our psychology instead of fighting it. By automating positive behavior, wealth building becomes the default. The system does the heavy lifting, not your discipline. The method also eliminates the constant anxiety many feel about saving. When saving happens automatically, there's no monthly guilt about not setting aside enough. The remaining money becomes genuinely available for expenses and enjoyment, creating a sense of freedom rather than restriction. Habit 2. I created distance from the wrong people. After getting serious about money, I noticed something strange. It wasn't just my spending habits holding me back, it was the people I surrounded myself with. While I was trying to save, they were planning expensive weekends. When I was researching investments, they were gossiping about co-workers. My financial goals wouldn't survive in an environment constantly pulling me in the opposite direction. There's that saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I dismissed this as motivational fluff until I really looked around. Most people I spent time with had the same problems year after year, the same financial stress, paycheck to paycheck cycle, fear of change, and I was becoming just like them. Our financial behaviors are contagious. When everyone treats $7 daily lattes and maxed out credit cards as normal, that becomes your normal too. The solution wasn't dramatically cutting people out. Instead, I quietly started spending more time with better input, financial podcasts like Choose Fi and The Money Guy Show, books like The Millionaire Next Door, and YouTube channels focused on building wealth. I sought out conversations with people who were financially ahead of me, not to copy their investments, but to absorb their mindset. What happened next was remarkable. My thinking changed, my standards shifted, my habits caught up. I stopped seeing frugality as deprivation and started seeing it as a tool for future freedom. I stopped viewing debt as normal and started seeing it as an emergency. Habit 3. I document my wins, big and small. Most people track their failures. I decided to start tracking my progress instead. When I first began changing my financial habits, it felt like nothing was working. The debts seemed unchanged. My bank balance grew painfully slowly. Then one night, almost by accident, I wrote down, paid my entire credit card bill this month for the first time. It was small, but it gave me a sense of accomplishment I hadn't felt in ages. That single note changed my perspective. I'd actually made progress, but had been too focused on how far I still needed to go. Since then, I created what I call my progress archive. Every time I reach a goal, no matter how small, I record it. Paid off a debt, it goes in there. Made my first investment, in it goes. Negotiated a bill and saved $80, that too. The journey to financial freedom is slow and often painfully silent. If you don't record what's working, you forget. And when you forget, you lose motivation. What this habit does is rebuild your financial self-esteem, one small milestone at a time. When you see 10 small wins documented, that pattern recognition creates momentum. I keep mine simple, just a note in my phone with dates and accomplishments. The format doesn't matter. What matters is creating tangible evidence of your progress. On days when financial freedom seems impossible, this archive reminds you how far you've already come. Habit 4. I practice gratitude daily, on purpose. In my banking app, I saw progress, but somehow, I still often felt empty. When I started saving money, investing, paying off debt, I expected to feel relief, but part of me still caught myself stressed, anxious, even impatient. That's when it clicked. I was fixing my money, but I wasn't training my mind. One day, I heard a phrase that hit me hard. Gratitude isn't a feeling, it's a muscle. That struck me because I had been waiting to feel grateful, but I had never tried to practice gratitude as a habit. So I started small. Every night, I wrote down 3 things that went well that day. Nothing grandiose. Things like got complimented at work, didn't impulse buy today, car didn't break down. Research from positive psychology shows that our brains have a negativity bias. We're wired to notice threats and problems more than opportunities and wins. This made sense evolutionarily, but wreaks havoc on our financial peace of mind. We focus on the one investment that dropped 5%, instead of the overall portfolio that's up 12%. If you only look for what's wrong, that's all you'll find. But if you train your mind to look for small victories, you start to feel financially well before you're financially free. This isn't toxic positivity or ignoring real problems. It's about giving equal attention to what's actually working. This daily practice created what psychologists call a reticular activating system effect. I started noticing more opportunities, more small wins, and more reasons to feel confident about my financial journey. The gratitude habit didn't directly put more money in my account, but it gave me the emotional stamina to stick with my other wealth-building habits. Habit 5. I automate my money so I don't have to think about it. After organizing my financial life, I realized something unexpected. The biggest threat to my progress wasn't the market or bills, it was me. The simple fact of forgetting, procrastinating, or sabotaging myself through small daily decisions was derailing my plan. Making good financial decisions repeatedly requires more mental energy than it seems. That's why I fully embraced the habit of automating everything I could. Today, my money comes in, and without lifting a finger, part goes directly to investment accounts, another portion to emergency savings, fixed bills are paid by direct debit, and even my monthly charitable donation goes out automatically. I don't rely on remembering. I don't wait until I feel motivated. It simply happens. A study from Duke University found that up to 45% of our daily actions are habitual rather than conscious decisions. Automation leverages this reality to ensure your financial success doesn't depend on daily willpower. Automation isn't just about convenience. It's about shielding your progress from your own impulses. It's protection against the future you who might be tired, stressed, or tempted. Services like Mint or Personal Capital can help you monitor everything automatically, while your bank's bill pay feature and investment platforms' automatic contribution settings do the heavy lifting. What surprised me most was how quickly this reduced my financial anxiety. The mental bandwidth previously occupied by remembering payment dates, transfer amounts, and contribution decisions was now freed up. Research shows that reducing these cognitive loads significantly improves overall decision-making and financial outcomes. Habit 6. I set specific financial goals with deadlines. For a long time, my goal was simply, I want to save money. But there's a problem with vague goals. They never become reality. I was saving, yes, but without direction, without real motivation, without knowing if I was doing well or poorly. Then one day, I changed a single phrase from I want to save money to I want to save $25,000 for my house down payment by December 2026. Seems simple, right? But when you define a specific number and date, two things happen. You transform a wish into a plan, and you start seeing the path clearly. In my case, this became $25,000 in 36 months, about $695 per month. This changed everything because now I knew exactly what to do month by month, and it eliminated that feeling of, I don't know if I'm making progress. Research from the American Psychological Association confirms that specific time-bound goals are up to 90% more likely to be achieved than vague intentions. This approach works for any financial goal. Paying off debt. I want to eliminate my $8,400 credit card balance by next October. Retiring earlier. I'm increasing my 401k contribution to 15% by June, or making a major purchase in cash. When your goal has specific numbers and dates, your brain treats it as real rather than theoretical. The specificity also creates what behavioral economists call implementation intention. You're much more likely to take concrete action when you've defined exactly what that action looks like. Instead of the general, I should save more, you think, I need to transfer $695 on Friday. The former is easy to postpone. The latter feels like a specific commitment. Habit 7. I audit my spending in just 3 simple categories. You don't need to track every penny, but you do need to know where it's going. When I first started taking my money seriously, I tried using complicated apps with too many categories, charts, and notifications. The result? I abandoned everything within a week until I created my own method. 3 categories, only 3. Every expense I have goes into one of these. 1. Necessary, rent, groceries, utilities. 2. Pleasure, dining out, streaming subscriptions, small luxuries. 3. Future, investments, courses, health, things that move me forward. Simple as that. When I began reviewing my spending with this structure, something became clear. I was living with little margin because pleasure was occupying future's space, and it wasn't about cutting everything out. It was about recalibrating with intention. I kept the coffees but reduced impulse purchases. I continued dining out but now with a clear limit. This habit isn't about rigid control, it's about freedom with awareness. Today I do this monthly review in about 15 minutes using Mint, Calm, or even a simple spreadsheet. It shows me if I'm living the way I want, or just spending on autopilot. Financial experts like Ramit Sethi advocate this kind of simplified approach because it's sustainable where complex budgeting often fails. What makes this 3-category system powerful is its focus on the relationship between spending types rather than micromanaging each purchase. The percentages matter more than the pennies. Am I spending enough on my future? Is pleasure consuming too much? These bigger questions lead to meaningful adjustments rather than penny-pinching stress. Habit 8. I learn one new thing about money every week. For years, my relationship with money was based on trial and error. I learned after falling. after paying interest, after making impulsive mistakes, until one day I thought, what if I treated money as a skill, not luck? That's when a simple habit was born. Every week I learn one new thing about money, just one. It might be an article about retirement planning from Investopedia, a video about REITs from a channel like The Plain Bagel, a podcast about financial behavior from NPR's Planet Money, or a chapter from books like The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. It just needs to be something that expands how I think. At first, I thought this would take time, that it would be tedious. But instead of spending 30 minutes scrolling through social media, I spent 30 minutes strengthening my financial knowledge. And gradually, that shaped my decisions. I started understanding terms like expense ratio and tax loss harvesting. I began asking better questions. I felt more confident. And best of all, I avoided costly mistakes before they happened. Research shows that individuals with higher financial knowledge accumulate up to 25% more wealth over their lifetimes. The compounding effect of this habit was remarkable. Just like compound interest grows money exponentially over time, compound knowledge grows decision-making ability exponentially over time. Each new concept connected to previous ones, creating a web of understanding that made me increasingly immune to financial misinformation and marketing hype. But for this to work, I needed to shield myself from something everyone feels but few admit, the fear of judgment. Because as soon as you start doing things differently with your money, someone will always have a comment. Habit 9. I stopped caring about other people's opinions about my money. At first, whenever I did something different with my money, that voice in my head appeared. Will they think I'm becoming cheap? Do I seem insecure because I'm not spending like before? And sometimes, it wasn't just the voice in my head, it was real. The friend who commented when I said no to a trip, the relative who made jokes because I drive an older car, the co-worker who found it strange I brought lunch from home, until one day, a simple question changed everything. This person judging me, will they pay my bills when I retire? And the answer obviously was no. That's when it clicked. Other people's opinions don't pay bills, they don't guarantee freedom, they only delay progress. The truth is that most people live worried about what others will think, and this keeps them trapped in the same financial cycle. When you stop trying to appear well off and start actually living well, everything changes. Financial psychologist Dr. Brad Klontz calls this financial flashpoints, moments when we choose between social approval and financial wisdom. This mental shift was incredibly liberating. I realized the true financial confidence isn't flashing status symbols, but making choices aligned with my actual values and goals. Research from Thomas Stanley in The Millionaire Next Door showed that most genuinely wealthy people spend far less on visible consumption than their income would suggest. They prioritize financial security over social signaling. Today, I don't need to prove anything to anyone. My balance, my peace, and my freedom speak for themselves. And interestingly, as I became more confident in my financial choices, I attracted people who respected this approach rather than mocked it. Habit 10. I learned to say no without feeling guilty. For a long time, I said yes to everything. Invitations, favors, meetings, side projects. I thought I was being kind, flexible, helpful, but in practice, I was drowning, and you know what suffered most? My health, my time, and my finances. That's when I discovered a concept called the yes trap. Here's the thing. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't bring you closer to the life you want, you are, without realizing, saying no to resting your body, caring for your mind, organizing your budget, or seeking new income sources. Learning to say no firmly, but without guilt, was liberating. What helped was a simple filter. Every time someone asks me for something, I ask myself, does this bring me closer to or further from the financial life I want to build? If the answer is further, the no comes without guilt. Time management expert Laura Vanderkam notes that saying no to things you don't value creates space to say yes to things you do. The result? My schedule became lighter, my mind clearer, and finally, I could concentrate on the investment that pays the most interest long-term, investing in myself. This shift from reactive to proactive time management directly impacted my finances. When I stopped letting others dictate my calendar, I found hours each week to develop skills, organize finances, and pursue opportunities I previously didn't have time for. Psychologists call this boundary setting, and it's a crucial skill for financial success. Without clear boundaries, your resources, time, energy, and money leak out to others' priorities instead of supporting your own. But before we continue, are you enjoying these wealth-building habits so far? I hope so, because we're just getting started with the good stuff. If you're finding value in these strategies, take a quick second to write "I'm learning" in the comments below. This helps me know what kind of content resonates with you, and I read every comment. Done? Great! Now let's get back to those powerful habits. Habit 11. I invest in myself like I'm the asset. The first time I heard someone say invest in yourself, I thought, okay, but what does that mean? Buy books, take courses. Today I know investing in myself is much more than that. It's understanding that I am my greatest asset, and what I do with myself today defines what I'll reap in 5, 10, or 20 years. So I began investing in what truly strengthens me, learning new skills. I took courses on Udemy in digital marketing, caring for my health, a gym membership that I actually use, eating better, which reduced my healthcare costs, sleeping better. I use the Sleep Cycle app, distancing myself from draining environments, going to therapy, and yes, also studying about money. Each of these investments paid returns, some financial, others emotional, all transformative. When I improved my energy and mental clarity, I made better decisions with my money. When I developed new skills, the opportunity for extra income emerged. My digital marketing skills led to a 2,000-month consulting side gig. When I learned to negotiate, I managed to cut costs without cutting quality of life, saving $140 a month just by renegotiating internet, phone, and insurance. Many people think investing in themselves is a luxury, but in reality, it's the foundation. Your assets don't grow if you're exhausted, distracted, and stuck. Berkshire Hathaway's Charlie Munger puts it perfectly. The best investment a young person can make is in themselves, their education, their skills, and their knowledge base. This perspective shift changed how I viewed expenses. A book wasn't a cost, but an investment with potential returns. Health wasn't an expense, but asset maintenance. Learning wasn't optional, but essential capital development. This reframing made it easier to prioritize spending on personal growth over temporary pleasures. Habit 12. I built multiple income streams, one at a time. For years, my entire financial life depended on a single monthly deposit, my salary, and while everything was fine, it seemed sufficient. But it only took one crisis, one company layoff, one health problem, for me to realize the risk. That's when I decided to start something that most wealthy Americans have in common: multiple income streams. But attention, I did not start 10 things at the same time. I did not quit my job, and I did not become a full-time entrepreneur. I started with a single question: what do I already know how to do that someone would pay to learn, use, or receive? The answer, for me, was financial organization. I started by helping friends, then came referrals, then I set up a simple online service. That turned into extra income that paid my variable bills and later was 100% invested. From there, I calmly created others. A digital product, an Excel budget template that sells for $37 on Gumroad, occasional consulting, dividend-generating investments, primarily through VTI and SCHD ETFs, and strategic partnerships. Everything started small, but over time, these incomes together became my plan B, and later, My plan A. Having multiple income streams isn't about working non-stop, it's about creating protection, autonomy, and peace. Research from the IRS shows that the average millionaire has at least 7 income streams, not because they're workaholics, but because they understand the importance of diversification. This approach to income also created an exponential effect. Each new stream taught me skills that made developing the next one easier. The consulting improved my communication, which helped with product creation, which enhanced my marketing for the next offering. Habit 13. I simplify repetitive decisions to focus on what matters. Did you know that humans make an average of 35,000 decisions per day, and many of them are small but draining? What will I wear today? What will I eat for lunch? Which app will I use for this or that? Now imagine how much this steals from your mental energy before even getting to important financial decisions. That's why I created a simple principle in my life: simplify what repeats. Automate what doesn't require creativity. Example: during the week, I always wear the same type of outfit to work, similar to what Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg did. I have 3 standard lunches that rotate and save me time. Fixed bills are on automatic payment. Financial organization days are always the same, and even my grocery meals are predefined. It's not rigidity, it's decision freedom where it really matters, because each decision you don't need to make is energy you can use to create something new, solve a real problem, or make more strategic choices with your money. This helped me avoid impulse purchases because I'm not mentally overloaded. I'm present, lucid. Research from the American Psychological Association calls this decision fatigue. Each choice depletes your mental resources, leading to poorer decisions later in the day. By eliminating or automating low-value decisions, you preserve cognitive resources for high-value ones. That $300 impulse purchase at 8 p.m. often happens because you've made thousands of small decisions all day and have no willpower left. I use simple systems like meal prepping on Sundays, setting a default morning routine, and creating templates for recurring work tasks. These small efficiencies compound dramatically. A study found that eliminating just 3 minor daily decisions saved participants an average of 40 minutes daily and significantly improved satisfaction with their choices. Habit 14. I network with intent, not just convenience. For a long time, I thought networking was just exchanging business cards or shaking hands at events. But after 40, I realized something deeper. You grow at the speed of your connections. And this especially applies when talking about money. The key point is, I stopped waiting to stumble upon interesting people by chance and started actively seeking people who inspired me. People who talked about growth, shared learnings, had clear goals, and were open to exchanging real experiences without competition. But it wasn't just about getting closer. I learned to come with value to the table. Instead of asking, "Can you help me?" I started asking, "How can I be useful to you too?" This changed the game, because good people respect those who play together, not those who just want to take. Networking expert Keith Ferrazzi calls this the give before you get principle, and it transforms relationships from transactional to collaborative. Thanks to this habit, I closed unexpected partnerships, discovered new income paths, and most importantly, gained confidence. When you walk with people who think big, it becomes hard to think small again. I joined groups like local investment clubs and online communities such as Bogleheads, where like-minded individuals discuss financial strategies openly. This intentional networking created what sociologists call weak ties, connections outside your immediate circle that often provide the most valuable opportunities and information. A Harvard Business Review study found that up to 80% of new opportunities come not from close friends, but from these extended network connections. Habit 15. I take action before I feel ready. If there's one thing that delayed me financially for years, it was waiting to feel ready. I'd say, I'll invest when I understand everything. I'll start saving more when there's extra money. I'll start my own thing when I'm sure it will work. But the truth, that right moment never came, until one day I realized almost everything that worked out in my life. I started without knowing exactly how it would end. I thought I didn't wait to know everything to accept my first job. I didn't wait to be 100% prepared to become a parent. I didn't wait to master everything to drive a car. Why would money be different? So I adopted a new rule. If something is important and I know the basics, I start, even with fear, even with doubts, even gradually. That's how I opened my first investment account, a Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund, launched my first online project, negotiated my first contract, and started a new income source even without knowing if it would work. Does it sometimes go wrong? Of course. But each mistake taught me more than any manual. Research from the University of Pennsylvania found that action-oriented individuals accumulate wealth 40% faster than planning-oriented people. Not because planning is bad, but because excessive planning often becomes a form of procrastination. The concept of minimum viable progress, borrowed from startup methodology, transformed my approach. Instead of waiting until I could invest $500 monthly, I started with $50. Instead of creating a perfect financial product, I launched a simple prototype and improved it based on feedback. Each small action created momentum that made the next step easier. Habit 16. I talk about money with people I trust. For a long time, money was a forbidden subject in my life. Family, silence, friends, just complaints. Marriage, we only talked when there was a problem. But then I asked myself, if I want to improve my financial life, why am I treating this as taboo? The truth is that many people spend their entire lives avoiding talking about money, and this only increases fear, misinformation, and isolation. When I began breaking this pattern, something changed. Instead of trying to solve everything alone, I started learning from others. I asked friends who were good with money how they organized their spending. I shared strategies with colleagues about investments, discovering that several were using low-cost index funds at Vanguard. I talked with my partner about long-term goals, which revealed we had different priorities that needed alignment. All this with care, respect, and without comparison. Of course, this isn't about competing, it's about growing together. These conversations gave me new ideas, perspectives I didn't have, and the feeling that I wasn't fighting alone anymore. Research from the Financial Therapy Association shows that regular, healthy money conversations reduce financial anxiety by up to 70% and significantly improve decision quality. Today, I have a small but valuable group with whom I can talk about money with clarity, honesty, and without shame. And that, honestly, is liberating. Financial psychologist Dr. Brad Klontz considers these money dialogues essential for breaking inherited money patterns that may be limiting your wealth potential. Habit 17. I focus on just 1% progress every month. At first, I wanted to solve my entire financial life in 3 months. I wanted to pay off debts, save money, invest, earn more, and still have enough left to travel. And of course, all at the same time. Result: frustration, fatigue, paralysis. That's when I learned a principle that changed my pace and saved my consistency, the 1% per month habit. The idea is simple. Every month, I try to improve my financial life by just 1%. It might be increasing by 1% the amount I invest, reducing an expense that no longer makes sense, learning a new strategy, organizing an expense category, or optimizing a service I'm paying for. Seems small, but this small has a superpower. It's sustainable. It doesn't require extreme willpower. It doesn't require radical change. And because of that, you can maintain it. And when you maintain it, results appear. In 6 months, you're at a level that previously seemed impossible. All without stress, without guilt, and without emotional debt. This approach is backed by science. James Clear in Atomic Habits explains that improvements of just 1% aren't noticeable day to day, but compound to massive changes over time. The math is compelling. 1% improvement daily compounds to nearly 38x improvement over a year. While I focus on monthly rather than daily improvement, the principle remains the same. What makes this habit so powerful is its psychological accessibility. When markets crash or unexpected expenses arise, a go big or go home approach often collapses. But the 1% mindset views these challenges as temporary setbacks rather than catastrophic failures. This resilience is perhaps the most underrated wealth-building attribute. I track my monthly 1% improvements in a simple spreadsheet, each small step documented like rings on a tree, showing growth over time. Some months it's financial knowledge, others it's expense reduction, and others it's income growth. The cumulative effect of these small improvements is what wealthy people understand that others miss. And that was the last of the 17 habits. None of them is magical. None of them will make you rich overnight. But if you apply these habits with consistency, they will build something much more valuable: stability, freedom, and peace with your money. Most people think wealth comes from some big moment, a lucky break, a huge promotion, the perfect investment. But in my experience, it wasn't any of that. It was small things, quiet things, done over and over again. Remember, you don't need to implement all 17 habits at once. Start with just one, master it, then add another. Slowly but surely, you'll build a financial foundation stronger than you ever thought possible. Now, I have a question for you. On a scale of 1-10, how valuable were these wealth-building habits to you? Which one will you start implementing first? Leave your rating and choice in the comments. I read every single one and love seeing which habits resonate most. Your comment also helps others discover this information who might need it.